GM. How's it going, Clemente?
Good morning. It's weird hearing you on a different way than what we're used to, but I'm excited for this format.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun today, doing things a bit differently.
Yeah, we'll work it out as time goes on, and hopefully this will work a bit better. Happy for your Phillies though this weekend.
Yeah, what a night last night. Still feeling good, feeling the win. Got four more wins to go. I'm sure I'll be insufferable throughout, but I'm happy over here.
Absolutely, guys. Welcome to the WGMI Morning Show, episode number 29. This is where we bring you everything and anything you need to know about the NFT market in 30 minutes or less, and we use WGMI's various tools and insights to hopefully provide you a bit more of a competitive advantage in this market by using our portfolio tool, using our NFT newsfeed, and the data and analytics that WGMI.io has to provide. If you like what you see, if you like what we are providing you, be sure to let us know and DM us the word newsfeed for a chance to win a free 7-day trial to use all of our tools. We give one free trial away every single show, so you don't want to miss out on that. And today, we are trying out a new format. We are, instead of being live on Twitter broadcast, we are also live. We're instead being live on Twitter Spaces to hopefully provide that additional audio advantage that Twitter Spaces does provide. But if you want the live graphs, if you want the audio portion, or you want the video portion of what we're doing, we are also live on YouTube. Check the chat, check that purple little box on the bottom right corner, and you can click on the link that will take you to our YouTube link. With this format, we're going to briefly talk about the market, go through our news feed, and share some of the news we have. But we'll, at the end of the show, have this more of an open discussion on anyone that wants to hop on stage with us. Feel free to request during the show, and we'll go ahead and bring you up at the end of the news feed portion. And lastly, please, if you can, retweet us if you are listening on either YouTube or Twitter. Help us out with the algorithm, and we'll go ahead and get started. Going on to the the market report. This is brought to you by our NFT newsroom account, WGMI Newsroom. This is where we bring you some of the clips, some of the pieces that populate our newsfeed and give you a morning snapshot every single morning. Yesterday's OpenSea volume was $7.2 million. And Ethereum's price is moving up a little bit. It's sitting at $13.51, and our market leaders for today on OpenSea are CryptoPunks with 689 ETH in 24-hour volume. They had 9 sales and are sitting at a 66.5 ETH floor. We have Clone X sitting at an 8.8 ETH floor with 20 sales, 189 ETH in volume. So quite a drop off from number one. And other side sitting at 1.38 ETH in volume, 19 sales. And finally trending, I know they were on a kind of a free fall after Luxrare's changed their listing reward structure. So something to monitor there. They are a little bit back on the uptick. We'll see how that plays out over time. Not included in here though, because it's on Polygon, is some of the Reddit spooky season avatars, as well as a few different collections. We're getting a lot of traction over the weekend and more specifically overnight. So that's kind of been a big story for today. And also on the leaderboard, you see the Mutants at 13.8 ETH at their floor. Street Machine boxes are at 0.27 ETH floor. And you can, as you go down the list, you see that play out. Ray, as you see the dashboard, as we're kind of talking about what the market's doing today, anything stick out to you?
I'm seeing, overall low volume. I think that's to be expected on a Sunday looking at the 1-day volume. I was curious to see if we see a bit more of the Azuki volume coming out of that proof of skate auction, to see if there would be more eyeballs, that people would have looked at that as a big success. The capital they raised there, what kind of profit they turned. We have seen 1.6 thousand ETH of Azuki volume over the last 7 days. That's up 57% week over week. But we did see a drop in daily volume yesterday. Only 93 ETH in volume yesterday, and on the Azuki side, Beams a bit lower, 23 ETH. Not a ton of trading going on there. I think, things are slowing down a bit. It's interesting to see the Reddit avatars take over. We're seeing a bit of movement on other aggregators, other chains as well, kind of stealing the OpenSea volume. So while these OpenSea volume numbers may be a bit low, they part of that can be attributed to some of these other aggregators as well. Um, so that's about what catches my eye. I need to look at it a bit, this week going forward to see what else, may jump out as a potential play. But that pretty much covers it for me.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I want to move to now cover some of the broader market stories that we've been seeing over the weekend and some of the big highlights. Obviously, the first one that sticks out to me is Azuki selling 8 skateboards for a total of $2.5 million, right around 1,900 ETH, smashing records that were previously set for highest skateboards sold in terms of price. It was pretty crazy seeing that play out, Ray. It was kind of like a battle of the Azuki whales, as we're seeing here with Dingaling leading the way. The lowest one sold was for 200 ETH, which definitely went above my expectations. Ray, I know you're monitoring this a little bit more closely as I was kind of out of pocket for the weekend. Any takeaways here for you?
Yeah, I was taking a look at this as it was going on, and as it was approaching 10 minutes left, I think that the bids were still under 200 for the top bid, and every time there's a new bid, it extends it 10 minutes, and we saw this crazy run on the skateboards. I was like, wow, they may get up to 200 for the max bid, and it turns out 200 was the minimum bid to get in. Dingaling bidding 309. He's part of Spirit DAO. Spirit DAO also bidding 240, winning those skateboards. A little bit of gamification involved in where you fit in the rankings too. That was very smart. They gave you, the choice of emblem based on where you ranked in that auction. So you kind of had your choice of which emblem you win. Dingling at number 1, taking the dragon emblem, which is seen as, the most valuable of the bunch. So there was, a bit of priority to get that number 1 spot, or even, those top 3 spots or top 4 spots, depending on how people view the different emblems. Interesting to see there. And like I said, looking at, the different charts and graphs, I was expecting a good amount of movement on Beans or Azuki, coming out of this, because this was, I think, above expectations in terms of what we were expecting from the sale. Looking at, the chart here on WGMI, separating out per data scale, we saw, a floor of, 10.7 on Azuki's on the 22nd, which would have been Saturday. Yesterday, we saw it 11.5. So, I guess we did have a bit of a run there. We didn't quite get to that run where we saw it hit 11.7 after kind of some of that VC rumor or announcement of the skateboard auction, sitting at 11.5 now. Beans, however, did not see that same spike, looking at 0.94 on Saturday, and now they're sitting at 0.92, pretty flat, trending downwards slightly for the Beans. Interesting to see those two floors charted and how the news of the skateboard reacted. I think maybe Beans not getting the love there, not seeing that volume, could be an interesting play here going forward.
Yeah. Look, it definitely seems like, personally, from what I was expecting, I expected a little bit more of some market action, as this was above what was expected, I think, from the skateboard auction. I know our Azuki curator Owen was before the auction ended. And the bids were still in the low hundreds. He was like, hey, to be honest with you, I think the lowest bid here is going to be at above 200 ETH. And that ended up working out, which is pretty cool to see. Kind of disappointed on the Bean side that they didn't cause a little bit more of an action there, but this was more of that higher end audience. So I do see how that wouldn't necessarily correlate to some price action on Beans, but that will be something to see, hopefully, play out in the positive going forward. Ray, as much as I love talking about the Beans and the Azuki ecosystem, I do want to cover the next piece of the news and kind of stories that stuck out to me. We saw Rug Radio seeing a pretty solid pump over the weekend. I know Farouk had has the sales notifications on for the Rug Radio, and he said that someone swept over, I believe it was 118 rugs over the weekend. And just when you look at the last 7 days for Rug Radio, their floor price has gone from 0.26 all the way up to 0.44. I saw it at 0.52 at some point, and then it trended downwards a little bit. Lots of sales coming in, lots of volume. Did anything stick out from this side of it, Ray? I know we actually put out a post on Twitter that was talking about the Web3 media kind of being on the rise, and that being Rug Radio and the Nifty. Didn't expect more of a run to come out of it, but it will be something to closely monitor here.
Yeah, I think we hit the nail, hit the nail on the head with this one. We called this before the pump, looking at these media companies, looking at them running. We had a post on our Twitter talking about these and how we like them, how we think that they have clear paths to monetization. They have the user base, and they are seeing volume. The people are continuing to show up day after day. The people tuning into these shows are the true fans in the space. And, we're seeing, the price come in a bit in line with what we've been talking about, what we think it's worth. I think these are, continue to be, interesting buys. I don't know if this is necessarily a local top. The one thing that concerns me is that the big sweep that really drove this price was an anonymous wallet that was, just funded from a secondary exchange. So we don't know who it is. It could be, for all we know, the project. So always careful about that. We'll talk about it a bit later here. I think it's one of our top news stories, but we saw Seed Phrase sweep some more of these. He's been loading up on these as well as some other projects. So we do see some notable buyers as well who continue to buy after that large sweep. So we are seeing some traction there. It's not just a big sweep and a dump. But as we can see on this graph here, listings up, sales down, floor kind of peaking. We could see a local top. So I wouldn't be buying in here, but it's something I'll keep my eye on if it does overcorrect a bit.
Yeah, the volume seems to definitely have gone down a little bit after topping out at about 54 ETH. Now it's sitting at just under 18. But to be honest with you, Ray, like if you would have told me that we would have seen almost the lowest volume that personally I've ever seen since I've been in the NFT space for OpenSea, and that being $7.4 million, I don't think you could really necessarily tell, because like I could have sworn I saw multiple different projects pumping and showing some signs of life. And it definitely was encouraging to see. As far as Rug Radio goes, it's all about narrative, right? And I think people now are catching on to the fact that they do have a good business model, right? They're one of the few businesses that are in Web3 that have a revenue model, which is with their ad spots for their show, right? Which is definitely nice to see. As far as price action goes, the thing that's hard for me though is like I don't know what the right way to value these necessarily is, because it's like, okay, they have a revenue model, but where do they go from here? How does that affect? So like I'm trying to figure out what's the correct valuation for this going forward, and then try to find a good entry point from there. But from the fundamentals point of view, it's definitely not great to see the listings went from a 229 was their local bottom. Now they're sitting at just about 315. So with that going up and the volume trending downwards a bit, I think I'm staying away for this for now at that 0.44 ETH floor price. I would wait on it to dip a bit more. I think if you're patient, you can definitely get in the low 0.3s, if not lower.
Yeah, I think I agree. Wait and see. I think this is a local top. And as those listings stack up, we're going to see a price drop, I believe, especially if the sales continue to trend lower. So one I'll be watching and one I'm bullish on, but one I'm not buying right here.
Yeah, and the other piece that has been kind of the talk of the town in terms of usage has been the Reddit NFTs. Now, I don't know too much about this, Ray, just because I was out this weekend, and as we were seeing this play out, I was kind of out of pocket and trying to figure out how we're going to play on it and kind of how it's going to stick out. But what was interesting to see was just two things stuck out to me. One was just the level of users that were stepping into this and creating these Polygon wallets without possibly even knowing what they were doing necessarily from the NFT front. And B, the amount of volume that's now coming in from crypto Twitter now that they've gotten a hold of it, and the speculators get in on this. For you though, as maybe you had a little bit closer a pulse on this, did you get in on it? Do you have like a theory on maybe where it's going to play out?
Yeah, so I think this is an interesting one. So it looks like 3 million NFT wallets are created, 86,000 NFTs in terms of total supply. 40,000 of those are sold. The rest were airdropped. They are on Polygon, and looking at some of the other information, market cap of 100 million. $235,000 of 24-hour volume. So they're getting a lot of attention on the secondary market, but I think most of that attention is coming from NFT native people and the people who were, savvy enough to intersect with both communities. Because I think, of those 3 million that are created, a high percentage of them don't really know they can, trade this asset or sell this asset on a marketplace. They may have just bought it because they want something cool. They want to, spruce up their posts. They want them to have special effects. They want to have that, rare avatar for when someone's looking at their posts. Kind of the same way when you're looking at, NFT Twitter, you're seeing, people's different avatars, and, that lends a bit of credibility, lends a bit of, power behind what they're posting based on, the collectibles they own and their investment in the market. So interesting to see for sure. I think that over time, more and more of these, Reddit savvy people are going to be on Reddit, reading posts on Reddit about how they can sell their avatar. But it may be, too late at that point. They may be attached. They may be like, hey, this avatar is awesome. I've been using it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. I don't want to get rid of it. I think it's a smart idea or a smart implementation by Reddit, not holding their hand through the process of selling it. Really just, hey, this is a collectible. It's backed by the blockchain. We're creating you a vault that it's going to be stored in, and this is yours and you own it. So I don't think they really walk you through like transferring it out and selling it, which is smart. I think that gives you a bit of like ownership. You feel like emotionally attached to your avatar. After that period of time, you find out you can sell it. It becomes a tougher decision. So I think that they are slowly going to be discovering, hey, I can sell this. I can make profit off of this, but they're also going to be holding that a bit of attachment as well. So interesting to see what the price action will look like on these going forward, but something that's for sure interesting. A huge number of people could potentially be onboarded. These are the kind of events that we need to see if we really want to onboard, the masses.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other piece that stuck out to me is when it comes to psychology part of it is like people don't really care like if you get to the point where people don't really care or they want to sell it, that's what's a cool part about it is like they just attach to it because it's that digital collectible piece of it, and it's that digital identity theory and narrative that we've been talking about for quite some time when it comes to the NFT space. So it's cool to see that play out in this market in this type of way with Reddit, which is a big powerhouse and has a large amount of users that can kind of reward some of the users that have used their platform and are part of that loyal user base.
Yeah, definitely want to keep an eye out on. I'm not buying here. I think that, the degens came in, they swept, they took a good amount of that profit out. I don't see, many people using these Reddit avatars on NFT Twitter. I think it's more of an investment, a flip, people looking to get in early. So it's one I'll watch, but again, not one I'm, really going to jump into. You really would have had to been early, I think, on this one to turn a bit of a profit without as much risk as you would have jumping in now.
Right, absolutely. And the last piece of news I want to really briefly cover is Seed Phrase bringing out the broom once again, stepping in and buying from what seems to be a lot of Wolf game exposure, the rug radio NFTs, and then some art blocks. I don't remember exactly what it was, but putting out another significant capital on this, which is definitely encouraging to see. My question is, where is he going to go next? It doesn't seem like the sweeps are going to stop, and it seems like these do have some recurring themes as far as Wolf game assets, as far as maybe going back to Rug Radio. I'm just trying to figure out where can he go next, and how can I possibly get in front of it, maybe.
Yeah, taking a look here, I mean, his normal portfolio allocation, when you're looking at it in terms of value, is, over 50% autoglyphs and, another 20% CryptoPunk. So that's like 70% of his value. Removing those and looking at his wallet gives you kind of a better picture of where he's located, outside of those two big blue chip holdings. He has, a good amount of Fidenza. His second biggest holding then is Creeps, followed by Wolfgame Genesis Land. He also has Farmers. Looking at his value here, we're not seeing as much of the Wolfgame assets he has staked, but he does have a good amount of Wolfgame sheep and wolves, I believe, staked as well. Some works by Pac, Meebits, Doodles, Anticyclone, Rug Radio coming in at 2.5%. He has a good amount of the currency as well. So that's a look at his overall portfolio, some of the projects he's been diving into. I don't know if he's going to continue to add to his Wolfgame and Creeps bags. They're slowly creeping up into the picture of his larger collection. When you're factoring in autoglyphs and punks. He may have capped out there. Maybe he's interested in media NFTs. Maybe we see more Rug Radio. Maybe we see some nifty portal sweeps there, depending on what his thoughts are. But, not a mind reader, just kind of looking at his collection. He's got, a good mix of blue chips, art projects. He'll probably continue to sweep, high quality projects as he's done in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking to guide and add on to those positions. As this plays out, again, we can't predict necessarily where it's going to go. We can possibly make some calls based on what we've seen in the past and the history before it. But as this plays out, if and when we see another seed phrase sweep, we will definitely keep you on top of it for that. Ray, that's all I had as far as the broader market stories for the weekend to touch base with you on and kind of cover. As far as the news for the weekend goes, I'll kind of let you take it whenever you are ready to kind of cover and get people caught up to speed on what happened there.
Yeah, thank you. Jump right into the news feed here, brought to you by WGMI.io, covering all the news and actionable information you need to maximize your portfolio holdings. You can look at news not only based on your own holdings, but across the NFT market at large. Starting off today, we saw information about the Artifact and Rimowa collab drop. This is there's going to be a draw and mint on October 27th. That's 3 days away, so Thursday. There's going to be the cabin luggage, which is going to be a forgeable NFT that's AR enabled with an NFC link. There's going to be 888 of these as a supply. They're going to be priced at a whopping 2.3 ETH. I need to look at what Rimowa looks like in terms of their normal price for their luggage, but this is quite the price tag for these. In addition to that, we're going to see these worker bots that have shown up on some of these collab pages. There's going to be a supply of 2,222, priced at a more reasonable 0.08 ETH. No idea what the utility is on these. They'll eventually be able to download 3D files, animations, and poses, similar to how they do for the Clone X files as well. I'm looking a bit on the Artifact collab website now. They have pictures and images of the workers as well as the cabin luggage. Looks pretty cool, to be honest. Interesting to see what exactly they can do here with this. One thing that'd be cool to tie into luggage would be like airport benefits. Like if it's a bit of carry-on luggage, maybe like scanning it gets you into a lounge, or maybe it gives you priority access through TSA. It could come with that TSA Plus rebate you see a lot of these credit cards offering.
Right.
Maybe free bag check or something like that. So there are a number of things you could do. I don't know what Rimowa's connections to different airlines are, or what Artifact can pull out of its hat, but some interesting thoughts there, as it could be kind of an exclusive club there in terms of future utility. None of this is obviously promised. It's just something that kind of speculating on, looking at it. That's a high price point. It is luxury luggage, but I don't know if that would be something I would buy, even if I was selected, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things that I was actually thinking about this weekend as I was flying was this side of like being able to scan something or prove your ownership of a specific asset, and that asset being tied to benefits at the airport, whether that's food, whether that's a TSA, you get to skip the line. Having that digitized and proven via ownership on the blockchain would be, I don't think it's a matter of if it happens, but just when this larger kind of adoption does happen. But to be honest with you, Ray, I'm surprised by kind of how fast some of these pieces and aspects of this technology are getting adopted. So I'm really excited for how this is going to continue to play out over time.
Yeah, I mean, Artifact is, partnering with these large and luxury brands. They're continuing to have these Forge events. It looks like it's quality material. The supply, 888 could help a bit here. I think that may be a bit too high. I think you look at what 10KTF just dropped with their Kagami, and I think that was a bit more reasonable in terms of price point than this. And when you look at that supply again, I believe it is a slightly lower supply than what we're seeing here as well. And personally, I think I'd rather have that, Kagami physical than this, but different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely see how that as that plays out. We'll keep you guys posted on it for sure.
Moving on with the news here, we see some upcoming macro events that we're going to make you aware of this week. So Monday, we're seeing, I guess we saw the U.S. manufacturing PMI released at 9:45. We're seeing Microsoft and Alphabet earnings tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern. Wednesday, we have the consumer confidence numbers coming out. We see Meta earnings as well. Thursday, we're going to see the ECB rate decisions. We're going to see the U.S. Q3 GDP. We're going to see Amazon and Apple earnings. And on Friday, that Elon Musk Twitter deal deadline is striking, and we're going to see the U.S. PCE price index. There are a number of big macro events we'll be keeping an eye on this week, seeing how they move the markets. We saw a bit of a run on ETH over the weekend. I think, the confluence of these announcements this week could have an effect on ETH price and, market confidence. So something we'll be keeping an eye on, keeping you up to date on as these come out, if they are needle moving. I know there, a number of these big tech companies, a number of these indexes and different, Fed meetings are going to be important for the overall macro conditions. So just keeping you updated on those from the WGMI newsfeed. Moving on, Damien Hirst is allowing people to purchase physical unique the currency unique prints. So not the actual artwork, but prints of the currency. There's going to be 1,000 of them. They're going to be selling for $1,000 each. We have the links on our website to those purchases as well. They're each numbered and signed by Damien Hirst. So if you want to print, you have an opportunity here. Maybe if you burned your physical, kept the NFT, maybe get a nice little print as a souvenir.
Right.
It's Meme Land Monday, so every Monday they do a number of things. They have winners for different prizes. I believe they have a space around it. So you'll see a number of news events coming out of Meme Land today. Prize draws, other different news for upcoming prizes. We'll keep you up to date on all of that Meme Land information on our newsfeed. We talked a bit about Hugo Boss and Imaginary Ones last week. We were looking at their merch. Their merch sold out, and it sold out pretty quickly. We weren't very big fans of it, but buying that merch got you and allowed us to an upcoming NFT drop. It looks like that supply is going to be 1001 NFTs, and it's going to be called the Sadness Blue series. We'll follow along with that and all other Imaginary Ones news on our newsfeed as well. We have some IRL utility coming to Quantum Key holders. There's going to be an artist night with Jason Hanasic in LA holding these Quantum Keys. We'll get you access, I believe. We have information and links out to the sign up and sources on the newsfeed. Moving on, if you're holding Cool Cats and you want the limited edition Cool Cats NFT banner, you have a few hours left. That's closing noon, so 1 hour from now, noon EST. It costs 5,000 milk. Head over to coolcatsnft.com, access the Meowpad stores, select banner, and pay in milk. I believe they'll be coming and being airdropped to the wallets by October 25th. So about an hour left if you're a Cool Cats holder to claim that banner. Lazy Lions provided up number 33. They announced rewards winners. They had a Twitter space with Bulls and Apes, a recap of that, and some more information with Aaron, one of the founders. We have a Medium link to the information on the update. You can dive in there if you're more interested in what they had to say. Going forward, talking about Chimpers, you can still claim tickets for London IRL event. The event is on November 4th. It's the first ever Chimpers IRL event. It's going to be in London. You can claim your tickets via Token Proof. We have the link on our newsfeed. We do have a number of weekly summaries coming from our WGMI curators, our experts in their field. We have the World of Women summary by Mitoshi, a ton of World of Women news this week. We saw the gala tickets go live. We saw one of the co-founders featured in W Magazine, a number of community spaces. We saw the awards for the WoW Gala nominations go out. We saw a Halloween contest, all sorts of activity there. They always have the very active community, and we keep you up to date with all of the events, spaces, etc. Everything you need to know if you're holding a WoW and you want to maximize your utility from that collection. Mitoshi also provides us information on 10KTF. A bit of a newsworthy week as we saw the Kagami mint. We saw the physical comfy hoodie redemptions. We saw the Kagami redemptions as well. And we did see that Devfellas, Chimpers, and Renga would be added as parent PFPs. I know we talked about that a bit last week. Interesting to see that more and more different ecosystems being added into 10KTF should shock the supply on the blanks a bit, theoretically, as people from those collections want to come in, mint their NFTs onto the blanks and claim the actual 10KTF assets. So we'll be watching out for those prices here and more news on the next season of 10KTF going forward. A bit of a quiet week for the Doodles. Not a ton of volume, not a ton of news. We saw a few tweets. We saw that Pharrell was in the office at a building session with some of the founders and CEOs, and we saw that they're walking through a new facility that's probably located in Miami. So putting a physical location together for Doodles HQ. A little bit of news there as well, but we continue to see a bit news-free zone here for Twitter or for Doodles on Twitter, social media. I think this has kind of been their MO. Heads down building, a little bit of news, heads down building. So we'll continue to monitor any news coming out from Doodles, and we'll keep you updated on that front. Red Sox Guy is our Cool Cats curator. He provides weekly data and analytics on all of the Cool Cats ecosystem. He reminds everybody about that Halloween milk banner we talked about earlier. Seems it was a slower week there. I bet the new CEO is settling in. Interesting to see, what some of his future plans will be. ONG, our curator for Azuki, provided a weekly breakdown. Talked a bit about the auction. 1900 ETH we touched on earlier, $2.5 million raised. Dingling secures a dragon emblem with a top bid of 390 ETH. Saw a number of other notable winners, Spirit DAO, Ivy Boys, win some of those as well. They're going to be shrined in the Azuki ruins and play a part in the upcoming lore. On the back of this, we also saw, last week was pretty busy as we saw them just announce the token standard, the physical back token standard, shortened to PBT. That was announced, as well as we're still just over a week out from the collector's profile. So they've been really moving on the tech side as well as, the physicals, IRL market, brand side. So it's good to see those two operating in parallel. The physical back token, I think, is a big step forward for bringing NFTs to the physical space, as this provides a receipt. Owning that physical asset is ownership of the digital, so you have that digital receipt for whoever owns that physical object. We saw another big Spirit sale, the fifth one in October, go for 150 ETH. Azuki currently on par with Fidenzas and catching up to Bacon Punks for the total number of 100 plus ETH sales in October. So we're seeing a good amount of movement on the rare Azukis this month, something to keep a close eye on. That wraps up our coverage of Azuki. Moving on to cyber brokers, we have quest number 6 closing today, 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you're a cyber brokers holder and have not completed this quest, head over to cyber brokers. We have the link here on how to participate on our news feed. So take a look at that, jump over and make sure you get that quest finished out. They've been rewarding those who complete these quests. I talked a bit about this in the market roundup, but Matoshi made sure that you were provided with the links and information on claiming your gala tickets as well as your plus ones. That went live yesterday. So that's still live now, I believe, but take a look there if you're interested in going and claiming those tickets. We have an allow list opportunity for Mint Minks out of the VFriends collection. Loud Punks is the collection for each of the Mint Mix Spectacular holders. You're going to get 5 free. You're going to get a free Loud Punks. There's going to be 5 of them raffled as well to anyone who holds any Series 1 Spectacular. And there's going to be 260 allow list spots that are going to be claimable by any Mint Mix Series 1 or Series 2. Anything that's left over will be raffled to any interested Series 1 holders across the collection. So an opportunity here if you're a Mint Mix holder or potentially a Series 1 holder in general, if the allocation gets to you. Jumping over to the Art Blocks land, we have Erratic by Owen Moore dropping on Playground today. It's dropping at 1 p.m. It's a Dutch auction starting at 1 ETH, settling at 0.15. We talked about a drop. I believe it was Thursday or Friday. We were saying stay away from it. Maybe not ideal. Obviously monitoring for volume, but it didn't sell out last time I checked. I haven't looked at it over the weekend, but looking at it on Friday, it hadn't sold out. The floor was hovering around mint. So some of these like Playground designated, I know they were saying they were going to stop this and call everything Presents, but they're still labeling Playground in the artist's description of the drop. So this is another Playground drop. I can take a look at some of the sample outputs here if you're watching on YouTube and take a look at some of these. It does look fairly interesting. It's a vibrant color palette, lots of small fractals, almost kind of looks like some of these look like weird retro paint drops on a canvas. I like these better than the ones we saw last week. I think these could have a bit more appeal. So I'll be monitoring these for volume today at 1 o'clock. If I do see that they're going to mint out, I could potentially jump in there and mint a few of those as it falls. So something to keep an eye out on for sure. Moving on to Jenkins the Valet, we have the Azurian PFP Council being open for nominations today, Monday the 24th. It'll be a group of 8 community members who will work with the team to oversee development of the PFP 2.0 art. I know we've been talking about this, following along. They've been involving the community at every step, which has been good to see. So if you have any interest in joining that community, make sure you get yourself nominated today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that one play out really quickly. Just it seems like I love how involved they're getting the community, but I think one of the future arguments for getting community involved versus kind of doing it a bit more autonomously and on your own as far as project management goes is, like, to be honest, it seems like they are moving a bit slower because they want to get the community involved. Ultimately, I'm not sure how that will work as far as losing attention over time if you are moving a bit slower. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out as far as getting this PFP fix and getting this new collection out and making sure it's high quality.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see what's going to happen there and what the time frame looks like. I think we've talked about this a bit, that it could be a buy, we could be reaching max fear, or it could just be destined for the graveyard. But I think the community they have, the Diamond Hand holders that are still left, I think can turn it around. So I think it's worth a shot of taking a gamble on potentially. And always do your own research. Always, this isn't financial advice, but one that we're watching closely, and I'm watching closely personally. Moving on, we saw G Money and Snowfro teaming up a bit here, announcing a bit of a 9DCC collab for iteration 2. I believe they're talking on a Spaces tomorrow at 11 a.m. It looks like it's going to have something to do with Art Basel as well. So I don't know if it's going to be a physical mint or physical claim there, but they do list November 29th to December 3rd and Art Basel in this iteration 2 announcement. So something to keep an eye out there for sure. That would generate a lot of hype, a lot of volume. I believe it was it Justin Aversano who took the photos for the iteration 1. I'll have to double check that, but G Money continuing to get these big name collabs with 9DCC. And if you can continue to do that, that's going to be what really builds that into a luxury brand. Moving on to Vayner Sports Pass. If you have hockey icons, be sure to hit their raffle site. We have the links to the raffle site on our newsfeed. There is an event in Manhattan and Toronto. One raffle for each. The deadlines are today at noon, so you have roughly 45 minutes from now to enter in these. I do not have any hockey raffle icons myself. I missed out. Would have been cool to check out that New York game, as I'm right down the coast.
Right.
With the last item, we're going to touch back on the Warner Brothers movieverse we talked about on Friday. Looking at some of these, I know we talked a bit about the lower and the upper tier. I believe it was a $30 mint for the lower tier, $100 mint for the upper tier. What it turns out to be is basically just like a collector's edition DVD that you can just stream from a website. There are some collectibles that are tied to it. I don't know if they're live yet. It's a bit clunky. I grabbed one of the rare $100 mint editions, and the floor's been actually surprisingly holding up. We have seen volume on these. We've seen volume on low serial numbers on these. So this is above floor in terms of the Epic Extended Edition. Looking at the overall floor, though, you're still in the red if you minted that $30 edition. That's down about 50%. Interesting to see this and seeing more of these companies jump out. There has been activity, there has been sales, there is volume on this marketplace. I wonder if this is going to be a test case for some other of these big Web 2 brands jumping into the space. As you can see, a number of sales in the $100 range, some other ones lower. You're seeing lower serial numbers go for a bit of a premium. We saw this kind of action for DraftKings NFTs and some other NFTs where you get standard collectors who care a bit more about the edition number more so than you see for traditional NFT enthusiasts.
Yeah, well, one of the things I'm monitoring there, and I've just been looking at for quite some time, is the Warner Bros. NFT Twitter. This is interesting. If any guys listening want to go check it out, I pinned one of their tweets. But just seeing how they tweet and like I guess they're still trying to do. I don't know what they're going to do going forward, or if they think that just tweeting once a day is going to move the needle for them. Personally, I would love to see them like host a space, interact more with people via DMs or retweeting people that have minted the NFT and are like getting their hands on it. Hey, I minted X, Y, and Z, and retweeting them, interacting with them a little bit more. Personally, I don't think this is going to move the needle for them. I'm sure likely, I'm not sure how many are left to be minted for that $30 price point. Yeah, I did think that marketplace was a bit wonky, Ray. It was kind of hard to use. I don't know why they use some of the analytics and numbers that they have shared. Like, I don't really care necessarily what average listing price is. But it was, I think overall though, like I think they are in data gathering mode, and Warner Bros has so much IP that they can use that this being their first test run, I'm sure they're going to be moving more into it in the future. And this was a big learning one for them, but I'm excited for them to have made this splash, and hopefully for the next one, they can improve on some of the mistakes that they made for this round.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see, and definitely good for the space in general. That wraps it up for the newsfeed news. What else have you been following in the NFT market outside of this, Clemente?
Yeah, big story for me, and what I've been tracking personally is star catchers saw a lot of volume, or not a lot of volume necessarily, but they saw a 6x in price. Let me share the just a graph and walk through it for you guys and anyone that might be listening. So their floor went from 0.02 on Friday, and they saw it peak at 0.12 ETH. So basically a 6x in price. What was interesting though was that they only did like this pump that caused a 6x in price was only a little bit over 100 ETH in volume. So not a massive amount of volume required to make that happen. And the reason why that happened was their listings before this pump, when the floor price was sitting at 0.02, they only had 264 listed. When they moved up and they did 6x, now their listings are at 616 listed. So almost a 3x in listings as this plays out. I know there was some speculation around possibly a Moonbirds holder getting involved, doing something with the collection. If you check them out on Twitter, Starcatchers wise, they have teased that they're going to make some big announcements this week, talking about utility, talking about potentially building out a business model. I've spoken to their founder before, and he's definitely open and has admitted to the fact like, hey, we're trying to figure this out as much as everyone else is in the NFT space. We're not going to claim that we're experts in what we're doing, but we're busting our asses trying to make it happen. So it is interesting. The big thing that I've been looking at is like, when you look at some of these older collections that possibly get acquired, that possibly these bigger players in the NFT space that have big experience in this, if they look to collaborate, how much that can actually move the needle. We saw it with Oni Force, and now we saw it with Starcatchers, and I think we're going to see it with more of these older and established projects, just because their listings are so low, and they've probably built the frameworks, built the community for the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, definitely. And looking into it a bit more, it looks like NY Doorman has purchased the Starcatchers collection. So he's been, pushing it on Twitter a bit. Interesting to see what's going to happen here as well. Showing off some of the more rare PFPs, doing some giveaways today. Pretty cool. Interesting to see, a change of the guard. I wonder how often we'll see this for some of these projects that may be struggling to monetize. Maybe they just need, someone else behind the wheel to infuse a bit of energy behind them. So interesting to watch. I know this is a collection that many had pretty much, left for dead in terms of, your heavy traders, people saying, hey, no volume here, hasn't been around. What have they done? But, change of the guard, we'll see what happens. And it should be interesting to look at going forward.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I think for Starcatchers holders, if I'm a holder, I would get excited because thinking about how strong the Moonbirds community is, being able to bring that level of capital, that level of experience, people wanting to possibly support NY Doorman in this kind of venture of getting into buying Starcatchers. I'm sure they'll bring in some capital, bring in some money, and unique ownership should hopefully go up. I'm curious to see what's left on my head that I want to figure out is how much did they pay for this, and how did they value the collection and what it was currently sitting at before being acquired, and the other one is how does that going to change going forward, and I think this will kind of set a precedent for future acquisitions as they occur, because I certainly don't think this will be the first one. Considering the cost that can go into minting out a whole new collection, doing the marketing, all that stuff, when you can instead acquire a project in a community full of people that already like the IP and have been following for quite some time, I think it's a great move, and I think it'll play out hopefully pretty well in the future.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. I think it's a risky play, to be honest. I don't know if I would be jumping in to make that play, but we'll have to see how it works out. Anything more on star catchers? I can kind of jump in here on one I've been watching as well.
Yeah,
Over
please
the
do.
weekend. So we had Degenheim mint and pretty much hang out around that 0.17 to point 0.2 range for a while. We talked about it a bit, but it's been dropping like a brick since one that I ended up buying 0.16, 0.17 mark. But as it's been dropping, we've also seen the listings drop. So we're sitting at 561 listings, a floor of 0.11, local bottom on the floor. Listings up a bit from yesterday, 557 listings yesterday, 561 today. So listings are pretty flat. I'd be interested to see how this could potentially go. I would think about maybe adding here. It's still a little bit murky for me, as I don't have a clear picture of exactly what the time frame is for the game release. I haven't dove into the founders as much as I should have, and what the plan is behind it. I know that just said this is a P2E game. It's had a ton of hype surrounding it leading up to Mint. It's had hype over the last 3 months, it feels, and they finally released. They had a fairly successful auction on the Genesis pieces, and they've had a sellout here at a decent price point. So interesting to see this. Going to be following along. Reveal should be sometime this week based on their announcements. I would love to sell into some sort of pre-reveal pump. But yeah, looking at the graphs there, we've ranged a bit and we are at a local bottom here. So if you're looking to add to this project, this would be potentially the time to do so. If not, wait till post reveal, as I'm sure we could see these numbers again. But interesting one to watch. We did see a number of big bids on their initial Genesis collection from some of the bigger names in the space, and we did see a sellout, and we did see a bit of trading momentum here, as it's been pretty high on the 7-day volume charts in terms of trading volume.
Yeah, unique ownership is pretty solid at that 54%. It's a 7.8K collection. I was in on it, Ray, at I got in at 0.17 and sold at 0.175 once that activity kind of slowed down. But looking at it now at this lower price point and potentially seeing how much work they have been putting into it, like their pin tweet, they were teasing some gameplay back in early summer. And I'm sure they've been working hard ever since. So that could be a potential play here. I'm curious. It definitely is most important to keep in mind when that reveal is, because for me, it's hey, maybe it's just best to buy post reveal. The last thing you want to see is that dip pre-reveal. So leading up to it, if it continues to dip, that's kind of a red flag, because it just could continue to go. But we'll keep in mind, and I think at this price point, when you show me the listings and when you show me that downtrend in listings and floor, it could be potentially a good time to get in and see how that plays out this week. Possibly a little lower risk play than the other alternatives that I was looking at.
Yeah, definitely one I'll be keeping an eye out. One I may be buying today, just watching what kind of news comes out on it. Outside of that, there's not too much else I'm watching today. We have that art blocks drop at noon, but that pretty much wraps it up for me.
Yeah, that's all I have. Guys, thank you so much for listening. This was the first episode that we've done on Twitter Spaces and YouTube broadcasts. So we were trying to figure out kind of playing it by ear on both times. So I hope it was okay. Let us know what you thought of it. Feel free to shoot us a DM with some feedback. We would really appreciate it. But that was episode number 29 of the WGMI Morning Show. Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening. We will be live at the same time, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, tomorrow for episode number 30. Thank you, guys. Let us know if you have any questions. Feel free to DM us the word newsfeed for a chance to win a 7-day trial to use all of our tools. And in case you were wondering about further access, our beta access pass is currently minting at WGMI.io, and it will give you access to all of our tools until December 31st of this year. And it will be your pass to discounted access going forward. So be sure to check us out there. But thanks so much, guys. Let's make it a phenomenal day, and we'll talk